It's the This Week in Missouri Politics Midweek Update with Scott Faughn.
Welcome into This Week in Missouri Politics Midweek Update. We're going to have a fun time today. I am joined with my buddy Paul Lehman, the nominee for the Green Party of Missouri for governor. Paul, thank you so much for coming and joining us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Tell folks where you're from, about your family.
I'm a lifetime Missourian, except for a couple stints outside the state in my work.
I'm glad you made it back.
I've been here a long time. And I grew up in Cape Girardeau, or southeast Missouri, Jackson
awesome.
area, and lived some down in the Boot Hill.
Jackson's better than Cape, as you know.
That's what we always thought.
Tease my friend Limbaugh about that.
Yeah, that's right. And the Limbaugh country.
See, I'm a Butler County guy, so I'm just down 60 from y'all.
Yeah? Oh, yeah. Okay.
We hated Cape people. We kind of like Jackson people.
Oh.
But nobody likes Cape people, trust me.
Yeah.
Shout out to my man Mark Booker.
Well, Jackson has surpassed Cape in size and the school district. I mean, much bigger than Cape Girardeau. Yeah.
I'll bet nothing made folks in Jackson happier than when that happened.
So I went to school at Southeast Missouri State College at the time. And graduate there with a BS in education.
Nice.
And then I went to Eden Theological Seminary in St. Louis, and so I got a degree, a master's degree, and Master of Divinity degree.
They let me out of SEMO on the promise I'd never come back. I don't think I could even got accepted to divinity school. I think they might have just bounced me right out.
Yeah. Well, I was lucky, I guess. And and then I've served churches in the United Church of Christ for 34 years. I have, and that's what took me out of the state for a few years, is serving churches, and ended back up here in Missouri. And then retired from ministry. So I'm still ordained, as they say. I can't get away from that. And I have 2 children, 2 adult children, and 3 grandchildren,
So
11 in Chicago.
You know, that's a life that sounds like a lot of folks I know. Seminary school or divinity school might be a little different than most folks. Obviously, most folks end up in one of the 2 parties and complain about it. You've ended up in the Green Party. How'd you get there?
2016. I've never been came out of the Democrat Party tradition.
Sure.
But I've always been friends with the Republican Party, and so it's kind of a blend of backgrounds.
I always think it's a bizarre person who, because you have a political difference, thinks somehow I'm mad at you, or you're my enemy, or I'm angry. I got a lot of good friends. Nobody has the exact same views as I do, right? I've always thought my radar goes up. Somebody that says, I agree with everything Doug Beck says. I happen to respect Doug Beck a great deal and like the hell out of him. He's changed my mind on some things. But we don't agree on everything. And if we did, one of us would be a kiss ass. And one of us, But I've always thought it was my radar goes up when I hear people, because of political differences, start to hate folks. I'm like, that's weird. That's not normal.
Yeah. So in 2016 is when I actually became a part of the Green Party. Jill Stein was putting out an appeal for support because I liked her ideas about various issues. And so she is now running for the 3rd time. Mm-hmm. She skipped 2020 and was kind of forced back into it because Cornel West decided that he didn't want to stay with the Green Party. He jumped in and then jumped out. And so Jill stepped in again.
I actually didn't even know he jumped out. I didn't know what party he was with. Why did Cornel West pull his marble back?
Well, the official response is that he didn't get along with the Green Party. We are a cooperative party, and he kind of, I guess, wanted to be the dictator or the person that
that only works in the Republican Party.
Yeah, I know. Well, he wasn't in the party, so he didn't. Not like Donald Trump, who grew out of that party and
so
was able to take over.
Live in Fayette. What a wonderful, rich history. You can feel the history in Fayette. Mm-hmm. What a terrific place. All right, so so tell me what the Green Party believes in. Like I'm familiar. If you just ask me, just if we was over at High Street Pub and he was like, "Hey, what is the Green Party say?" Well, they're environmentalist, right? Is there there got to be more, right? Tell me what's up. What
right.
more?
Much more. We have a complete program, and Jill Stein addresses. The motto is peace and environment and peace. We're also a peace party. So, for example,
who never thought the Republicans were coming closer to you on peace than the Democrats? Would have never thought that.
We're with the Republicans on Ukraine, and not so much with Gaza. We are opposed to the war in Gaza, and we think we would stop that manipulation by Netanyahu of the American administration.
I mean, who the hell is this hillbilly to say who's right or wrong in the oldest, most contentious conflict in the history of civilization? Mm-hmm. However, I respect people's views wherever they come down on things, right? The one thing that always the one thing that puzzles me is I don't quite understand the logic of we're going to stand with Ukraine, or we're not going to stand with Ukraine, and we're going to stand with Israel, or we're not going to stand with Israel, Ukraine. I guess I just and I know there's an answer to this. I know there's a good argument, right?
Right.
But I'm not sure if you and I were just having a beer in West Plains today, and old boy was taking his lunch break from laying brick, I don't know that he gives a damn about either one. I just don't. And I get, I'm a child of the 80s. When we played Army, the bad guys were the Russians. I don't think they should just be able to take country over. I get that. I don't think they should be able to do to Ukraine what we did to Mexico in the 1840s, right? But I do think that I don't understand the logic of someone that says, well, we're not with Ukraine, but we're with Israel. I don't get that.
I don't either. And
your position is leave them both alone.
Jill Stein's position is that Russia made some demands and conditions for peace. Their intention was not to take over Ukraine, but it was to.
You think though? I think at first he was. I think he was going to take over Ukraine. He just couldn't get it done. I think that old boy Zelensky. Say what I'm not. Again, I'm not sure you need to be giving them all of our money. They're starving folks, and we can go to Marble Hill camp from back in the day. We can go down to Zalma, and we can find some poor folks. So while those poor folks in Zalma, I don't know if he'd be paying him, but I think Putin was going to take it over and put a puppet ruler in, like had been the case in the past. And Zelensky was a plucky little dude, fought him off, which good for him. That's awesome. I just don't know how Zelensky's problems are the same problems of the people in Zalma.
Our take on that is that he did not want to take over Ukraine.
You really think he would have installed a puppet in?
He saw Ukraine as a buffer between Europe and Russia.
You really believe at the end of the day, though, seriously, he would not have installed a puppet.
They were flirting with this idea of joining NATO, and that was a step too far for Putin. So that's why he invaded in order to secure his demand that
I agree with you on his motivations, I just want to raise a question to you. I agree with you about his the NATO thing problem. He thought it was his neck of the woods. The question is, my observation, and I am not a international politics expert, but my observation was that he did want to take over Ukraine insofar as to put a puppet ruler, just like the United States has done hundreds of times, probably 100 times in the world. He wanted to topple Zelensky, and he wanted to put a pro-Russia ruler in. That's what I thought he wanted to do.
Yeah. Jill Stein has studied that area, and she understands, and as I've learned too, that that was not the intent. The intent was to provide some kind of security for Russia, against NATO, and so that was what that was all about.
So tell me
a similar thing in you mentioned in Gaza, in Palestine. You mentioned that it's 75. A centuries-old conflict. Well, that's not true. There was a period of 2,000 years where Palestine lived in relative peace, and Palestinians and native Jews and Christians all lived side by side in a peaceful coexistence. But in 1948, the powers that be decided, well, we're going to create a new state, the state of Israel. And so that's where the problems all began. That's where the conflict became.
A fellow Missourian was the guy behind that, Harry Truman. The leading person that decided I'm going to do this was Truman.
Yeah.
I like the fact that you're going to come. Look, Harry's going to keep his eye on you now. He's got. All right, so tell me.
And so there was not the resistance was against the way they went about it, and which was to deport immediately 700,000 people in 1948, the Palestinians.
I don't think there's a thing you can do to solve it. I think it goes back to Isaac and Ishmael. I'm not sure you can do anything in the world to solve that. I don't know what business the United States has in any of it.
Well, we need to be an enabler. That's our role, and we can't escape that. I mean, Israel depended on us.
Do we sell Israel weapons, or do we give them to them?
I don't know. Do you know?
No, I don't.
I think it seems to me that we're giving most of them. They're not buying any of these weapons.
Well, if
they're
Israel's
just being
buying
given
our weapons, well, I'm a capitalist. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, right.
But if we're giving them to them, that's a totally different situation.
Yeah, I think that's what we're
if
doing.
If Ukraine wants to start buying guns from us, I say we even give them a little discount. I mean, I think it'd be good if Ukraine fought Russia off.
Right.
But how much you paying, right?
Right.
And I the one thing, I know Trump is divisive, but the way he speaks is just like an old boy from Shannon County could understand.
Right.
And when he looked at the Germans and said, "So we're spending all this money to defend you from Russia,
right,
and you're buying gas from them." I'm sorry. I understand Donald Trump is a scumbag. I understand he lies. Trust me. I see Donald Trump in full. But by the same common sense logic, as I do agree with some of his critics on these things, I absolutely think he told the Germans gospel truth, and every syllable he told them in that clip, which could be. Maybe he said a bunch of dumb stuff before and after. If you know Trump, he probably did. Mm-hmm. But what he told those diplomats was, we're defending you. You're not paying your freight for NATO. We're paying more than our freight at NATO. And you're going to go buy gas from the people we're supposed to protect you against? That's idiotic.
Yeah.
That is a stupid deal for the United States of America. Yeah. And if Trump was proven right when they invaded and they had to shut the pipelines down and all that, and I tell you, I have no problem telling those Europeans, pay your own freight. Don't ask us for charity if you're going to snub your nose. The war in Iraq obviously proved to be a terrible decision for this country. But still, the way they were totally ambivalent to us, I mean, we're the one paying to keep them safe. Mm-hmm. Quit paying. There's a lot of poor folks in Iron County that could benefit from the protection you're giving to the people that hate us.
Right. Yeah. Of course, that's getting far afield from
tell me why you're running for governor of Missouri. You bet.
Yeah. So, let's finish up that. Jill Stein, if she were president, she would immediately contact Putin, and they would negotiate. And of course, I never think of his name, the leader of Ukraine, and say we're going to negotiate a peace. And the same
women are good
Israel.
At problem solving.
The same in the Middle East. She would call up Netanyahu. You're not getting another nickel from us. Until you sign the peace treaty that is on the table.
I think Cindy O'Loughlin has proven that women are better at conflict resolution. And Kelton, could you clip that and send it to Casey that I said that? All right, so you got to be sitting there living your life. Jill Stein activates you a little bit into politics.
Right.
You become a member of the Green Party or you support them. How in the world does somebody come and say, you should run for governor? And then I can understand why they'd ask, but, what would make a person say, okay, I'm doing it, I'm in?
Well, we're a very small party in numbers.
So I was excited to have you on.
So it's kind of a process of elimination, or I tried not to run, but then there was no one else, so I decided to step in, and they told me, well, you don't have to do anything. Just get your name on the ballot.
That ain't no way to do it.
To give people, well, I'm not satisfied with that, so I didn't.
I like it.
That's why I'm here. and to tell people about the alternative to the what we call the red and blue teams, and that we
Sometimes
see
it's the BNS teams. Just pick which one you want. Which one you want to do.
So we want to be polite about it.
He's from Jackson,
we
so
have,
he's polite. I'm from West Butler County, so we're a little more crude.
So we, as governor, I have some real issues with Mike Kehoe's approach to the border situation. There was a terrible waste of money to send National Guard down there to do a federal action. I mean, they're responsible for that, and we should be spending Missouri money to send National Guard down to the border.
My gut agrees with you, but I'll ask you this. Now, I do believe that when you have a Democrat administration, you do not have a southern border. I do not think they give one damn about stopping any of the hundreds of thousands of people coming to this country. I do believe when you have a Republican administration, they do want a southern border. Personally, I think we need labor in this country, but I think we have every right, just as Canada makes it very clear, to see who comes in our border and approve who comes in. I think this country needs labor. To me, man, if you're willing to work for a living, brother, how you doing? Come on in. Let's figure this out. But I don't think just saying, okay, we're not going to have a southern border, that makes no damn sense to me. And I listen, I think Joe Biden's a good guy. I think he means well for this country. His views are a little different than mine. But I do not believe that he is serious about having a southern border, nor do I believe the National Democratic Party is. Do you?
No. And
what would you do,
I would say the same thing for the other team.
If you were governor
of
Missouri?
The other team would, as governor of Missouri, what I would do is I would establish a transition for the people who come to Missouri. You'd call out the criminals, of course, and there would be some penalties for the illegals. But the point is, we want to develop a process to make the illegals legal, and
learn English.
And then set up. Well, we need to establish a system to do that. The public schools are doing that already, but they don't have the adequate funding to fully integrate these people. Who are we going to get to put the roofs on our houses or mow our yards if we cut off, as Kehoe's suggesting, sending these people out of the state, and then that criminalizes the people here legally, because they will be subjected to search and scrutiny as to whether they are allowed to come into the state or not.
You're going to have to make people scream a little. You're going to have to take the person that's getting a much cheaper roof. When the hailstorm comes in, these companies come in, throw this roof on, and they pocket $5,000 between the insurance check and what the contractor does. You're going to have to tighten that contractor to pay people a living wage, which I don't think it's right. The truth is, the Republicans have many people in their party that abuse these people economically. Right. Now they actually want to have a thing, but they really do. I really believe that they want to have that there is interest inside the Republican Party in the business community. They're like, Walmart's selling these strawberries. It's a lot more if you have to pay the minimum wage to pick them.
Yeah. I know we're running out of time. One other major issue would be the environmental governor in connection with the party. I would want to reform our agricultural system. We are eating ourselves to death with contaminated food, and the first place to start with that is to convert the GMO chemical agriculture into an organic agriculture.
Now, you can tell by looking at me, I got to turn my eyebrow up a little bit. Now, I like to eat. I like steak. Is steak in your plan?
Absolutely.
Hell yes.
In mine. Now, there's some greens are vegetarians and would be happy to not have that. No, and I think we need to keep our beef in Missouri instead of shipping them out of state, and then when you go to Gerb's or other grocery stores and buy imported beef.
It's Bud Light in your program.
I don't know. I don't drink beer, so I don't keep up with
Well,
that.
you're missing out. Now,
Is that made in St. Louis?
yep.
Okay, absolutely.
Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis,
oh,
Missouri.
sure, yeah.
All right,
Yay.
so taxes. When I doing what I do, I probably have a little more feel for the Green Party than some other folks. I think you're going to run my tax bill up. If you're governor, am I going to pay higher taxes?
And we have a solution for that, and that is you would know better than I do. Aren't we on a flat tax system in Missouri? We need to have a graduated tax where we've got a lot of wealthy people in this state, and they are not paying their fair share of taxes.
The first $20,000, and there's a lot of intelligent folks that would know this quicker than me. You could probably, Lincoln Huff, you could wake him up at 3 a.m., he could explain this to you. I think there's a certain amount of income that's not taxed at all. So if you make $25,000, your first $25,000, I think, something like that. If he watches this, he'll text me, and Pat Thomas would know better than him, obviously. But I do think that the problem I think with the tax cuts is this. I think we were at 6% under Nixon, right? Income tax on Missouri.
Missouri.
And I think there was a chunk of that wasn't taxed, and everything above $30,000 or $20,000 or whatever was taxed. Mm-hmm. I do think you need people paying a tax because it gets too easy to soak the rich if everybody's not paying, like you said, a graduated amount. Everybody needs some skin in the game, in my opinion. Why can we all love the University of Missouri? Because everyone in this state somewhere is helping pay for Truman. And we're going to, yes, we will get to Kelton's illegal gambling operation. You may have to cover your ears. But I do think you're right. But I honestly people have said, oh, you cut the income tax, you're going to grow. Well, we've cut the income tax by, what, about 25% in this state?
Yeah.
And the truth is, the scoreboard would show that we haven't grown.
Right.
So now I guess the argument would be you got to cut it all the way. And look, Mike Keogh's a successful, your opponent is a very successful businessman.
Right.
When he says, I'm going to cut the income tax, I'm like, well, tell me a little more. If you're going to eliminate the income, there's other states that have limited income tax. People always look at Texas and Florida and all this tourism and oil. They tax the hell out of tourism and oil. Oh. It's not as though their government's not spending money. It's that they're taxing the hell out of tourism and oil. Ain't no oil in Missouri to tax. And tourism is not going to pay the freight. Tennessee is a different example. They might have a little more tourism than us, but it's not. Nashville's become a thing, but in reality, the tourism is not how they've done it. Nashville, though, property tax, high. Sales tax, high. I thought Governor Nixon always had a good point when he says, look, we're going to be Midwesterners, we're going to be common sense, little income, little sales, little property. That's how we're going to fund basic government. I'm not sure Nixon's theory isn't just as good because I've seen the income tax cuts, but we haven't seen the growth. That's just the truth.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, there are multi-reasons for no growth in Missouri.
Give me another one.
The atmosphere here. We're not... I talk to people, as you do, a lot of people, and they're not very happy. And that's why I wanted to read this.
Well, read it. But tell me what it is.
I don't think we have time. But
we got time.
Basically, it says.
Kelton says we got time.
It says that.
Now, what is it though? Tell folks what you're reading.
It's the Article 1 of the Bill of Rights, Section 2 in the Bill of Rights of the Missouri Constitution. And it says that all constitutional government is intended to promote the general welfare of the people, that all persons have a natural right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and the enjoyment of the gains of their own industry, that all persons are created equal and are entitled to equal rights and opportunity under the law, that to give security to these things is the principal office of government, and that when government does not confer this as security, it fails in its chief design. And what I'm submitting is that Missouri has been failing this, violating this section for years. So I base every decision on the pursuit of happiness. We want to enable people to pursue happiness, whatever that is. We're not going to tell them what.
It makes me happy not to pay taxes. Because it makes me happy not to pay taxes.
That's not a. you're not being threatened personally, and your life is not being threatened by having to pay taxes.
Joe Biden hiring them 100,000 IRS agents sounded pretty damn threatening to this old boy. But I don't trust the government, so you had to go somewhere else if you want somebody to trust the government.
I'm with you, and that's why I'm part of the Green Party.
Boom. All right, so let me see that.
So if I may, there's always a limit. Your happiness ends when it intrudes. Your pursuit infringes on your neighbor's ability to pursue happiness.
So I'm happy for Vladimir Zelensky to pursue happiness. I just don't want to pay for it.
Me too. Me too.
I like this.
Yeah.
Okay, so
keep that.
I will put it right here.
Yeah,
What's the the difference is, first of all, I got to thank my buddy Charlie from back home. Sent me this golf mug beer stein. We're going to call this the Casey Wasser beer stein. I want to thank United Fiber, folks up in the great Northwest, for letting us come and visit with guys like Paul Lehman, who's got his name on the ballot as the gubernatorial candidate for the Green Party, and the Courtyard by Marriott. When you're in town, sir, next time you come down, you got to stay at the Courtyard. Top hotel in Jeff City. It's where, if you're serious about politics, you want to be serious about making sure you stay at the Courtyard by Marriott. All right, so you're running, and give me.
Could I mention one other thing
sure.
here?
Hell
yeah. We have a problem with our health care system, and there was a local Republican candidate running on. He was concerned about the health care of the people in these poor rural areas, and the simple solution is a universal health care plan. And that would rein in the price gouging for drugs.
Who's going to pay for it?
And again,
I'll ask you what I'm going to ask Kehoe. You're going to do everything up tax. Who pays for it?
We lift the limits on when you pay your Social Security tax. If you make over a certain amount, then you don't have to pay that tax. So we eliminate that cap on who pays in. And that's going to bring in tons of money because we got lots of wealthy people in this state.
Well, don't you
and
think,
more
though,
power to them, but they need to pay their fair share, and they will. And what that does is that eliminates all these other costs. The small businesses, they won't have to worry about how we, finding some health insurance company to cover their employees.
Then a lot of this has come back to the '60s folks were in this country. They were selfish. They spent. They did not pay their way. They dumped their debt onto their children, and now it's dumped onto their grandkids.
Right.
I just think, whatever good you say you do, you're not doing any good if you're just racking up trillions in debt and passing it off to the next generation. That sounds like a great idea. I just don't know that a country as functionally bankrupt as us can do it, and I don't see anybody with the leadership to ask for any sacrifice. I mean, Kamala Harris, let's be real, isn't going to ask you to sacrifice anything.
I'm realistic about my candidacy. I'm kind of a voice in the wilderness.
Exactly.
To say this is how we can correct this problem.
All right,
and hopefully the blue and green and blue and red parties will pick up some of these ideas and implement them when they become in power.
I got 2 questions for you. Obviously, if we're sitting in that studio here 2 weeks from yesterday and we announce your governor's going to be a surprise, why should folks take their vote and not vote for Crystal Quaid or Mike Kehoe? Why should they vote for you?
People who vote for me would not vote for Quaid or Kehoe.
Well, you used to vote
because
Democrat.
we have our own votes, and people are lots of people out there who never vote for the Democrats or the Republicans.
Your choices on the ballot would be the three of y'all.
Right.
Why should they pick you?
Because we have the best plan for getting our state back on track, making people able to pursue happiness, which we have a lot of depressed people in our state, people who are not very happy. I run into them all the time. They have long faces. They're faced with all kinds of expenses, which I don't think taxes is the problem. The problem is the rent and the that they have to pay, the price of food.
Oh boy!
The
price of beer,
insecurity, and beer. Yeah. We need to control that.
That's why I like old Trump going to McDonald's.
Yeah.
It's a fundamental issue to me if you're Kamala Harris and you're setting an interview and you're saying, I got all these wonderful ideas. I've got so many ideas you don't even know. But then the interviewer goes, well, you've had 4 years to do. Why ain't you done them?
I agree.
And I think any vice president running for office, it's very hard because she doesn't want to say, I'm going to do everything like Biden because, hell, that beer bottle's twice as expensive as it was when Trump was president. So you can't say I'm going to do everything like it was because that ain't working. But if you come up with all these ideas, it's like, well, hell, why didn't you do them? Why you been holding back on us, right?
Right.
So last question. This is the real reason I was excited to have you on. Let's say you're a younger person, you're formulating your ideas on things. Why should you get involved? Why should you come to a meeting? Why should you click on a link? Why should you check out and open your mind and bring in the ideas of the Green Party? Tell me what give me the argument that made you decide I'm a Democrat today generally. I'm sure probably not exclusively, and I'm going to come on and get active here. What was that process like, and why should somebody watching this give you a try?
First of all, we need to defeat the Amendment 7. That's the amendment where we are not allowed to use ranked choice voting. People are afraid to vote for the Green, even though they agree. It's like 70% of the population agree 100% with our platform. And we have a problem of getting the word out.
That's a lot of Missourians to agree on anything.
That's you talk to them in their homes and on the streets, and that's what they tell you.
Y'all were at the state fair, right?
I did not make it.
But there was a booth, right?
No, we didn't have one. The Libertarians did, and they shared some space for the Green Party.
Well,
we were not involved in that. So. We to encourage people that to say that we've been talked into in our case voting for the Democrat Party when they have not kept their promises, and they have made all these promises like Kamala's doing. Even after she had 4 years to implement them and didn't do that.
I mean, let's be honest. It ain't like Biden was saying don't do that. He probably wasn't saying anything, right? I don't think he said much in 2 or 3 years. So,
anyway, there's more
debate,
to that. But the point is that if we had ranked choice voting, that would enable people to say, my real first choice is the Green Party. As it is now, they're afraid to say that because that may elect one of the other two parties.
Is ranked choice is too complicated, though?
Not.
Explain it.
Very simple.
Explain. Very simple. Hold on, Kelton. I'm gonna do something here. I know we're running a little over, but if you got a second, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna turn my timer on, and I'm gonna ask you to explain ranked choice voting, and I want to see how long it takes you. Ready?
Okay.
3, 2, 1. What is ranked choice voting?
It is a system where you say you have 3 candidates. It doesn't work with 2, but if you have 3 or more candidates, then you vote for your first choice, who you think you like, and then and everyone does that, and then you have a winner on a plurality basis. But that person doesn't have the majority vote. The rest of the votes are in the secondary votes. So you run it through the computer, and it calculates, adds up all your second choice votes and your first choice votes for the other candidates, and you tally that. The bottom candidate, the one who doesn't, gets the lowest votes on that second round, they are dropped out, and their votes are moved up to their second choice in the upper 3. And so you go through that cycle, and eventually it is possible for the total votes that are cast to be the real votes. I mean, the majority vote would be for maybe the second candidate who won. So you have a candidate who has all the money, and they buy themselves into a plurality. But people really don't like them as a whole. And so the second choice can rise to the surface through this process and become the winner.
That took 1 minute and 31 seconds.
Is that a record? I don't know.
Well, I kind of get what you're saying. I'd probably need to get one of them napkins out and do a little math with you on it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that would be the best way.
I do think, though, in an age of Twitter, Facebook, short clips, 92 seconds is longer. I think the ranked. I've had 2 dinners where people have tried to explain ranked choice voting to me.
Yeah.
And I like kind of the thought of, okay, just everybody runs in a primary and you vote. The top 2 move on in November and you vote again. That I get it. The ranked choice thing is just, I think it's overly complex. I think we've all came up and voted forever in a pretty simplistic system, and I think I think for ranked choice voting to take over, I absolutely believe you're going to have to find a way to get that to 15 seconds. I mean, I just think that you're going to have to condense the hell out of it. You can't do that
because it's more complicated than that, than just the casting the vote.
I think that to make it actually catch on with the public, you got to cut that down to 15 seconds.
Oh.
And I'm not smart enough to know how you do that because I'm not totally sure exactly how it even works still. But I do think in order to sell something to the American public or even the people of Missouri, I think you got to get it a lot tighter and simpler, like keeping it simple. I think that there's always something to be said for that.
I think the basic premise here is that we are electing people to office on a extreme minority vote.
Totally agree
and
with that.
The majority of people who cast ballots in the election, their vote does not count. And with ranked choice, their vote does count. And it is possible to push out some extremist candidate who bought their way into the election, but who are not popular with their constituents. And that's if you look at it that way, then you're able to go through the process and how that works. And it takes more than 15 seconds to do that.
And I think therein lies the conundrum of a way to sell it. Paul Lehman, thank you so much for making the time. I hope you'll come back. Maybe during
invite
session.
me anytime,
and come. We'll talk politics.
Yeah.
We'll have some actual legislation to talk about coming up quick. Kelton, let's real quick here. We're not real much on following law here, so they say you can't bet on sports. So Kelton runs an illegal sports book. Kelton, you have the graphic for the illegal sports book.
Yes.
As you see, Kelton's he calls it his totally legal sports book. Let's start off with the Chiefs, Kelton. Were they Sunday afternoon against the Raiders?
Yes, and the Chiefs are a favorite with -10. So.
They're given 10 points. On the road, I'll take the Chiefs to win, but not to cover. What do you got?
I'll take them to win and cover on the road.
Kelton is such a homer. So you gonna play with us? The Chiefs are giving 10 to the Raiders on the road in Las Vegas. Who are you picking?
I'm not versed in that, so if you don't mind.
I think he just doesn't want to get arrested with you, Kelton.
Yeah.
I'll sit in. Like I said, a good buddy will bail you out. A better buddy is sitting in jail with you.
Right.
All right, let's talk about Mizzou. Big weekend. How about that win over Auburn?
Oh, we have Mizzou's the underdog with plus 13.5.
Oh, plus 13.5. So the Nick Sabanless they're coming on a 2-game losing streak. So Alabama, great program. Their coach leaves, goes to College game day. They lose to Vanderbilt, the smart kids. Not at a spelling bee, at a football game. Then they lose to Tennessee. Tennessee's a good team on the road. I mean, those are 2 tough games. But now they're coming their home game on a 2-game losing skid. Boy, I'm worried we caught them at a bad time, Cal. We may have caught a very pissed-off Alabama. What do you think?
I have faith in Brady Cook again to pull us through and cover as well.
To win or to cover?
Well, if they win, they cover, so I'll take both.
You think that? No, that's not true. They could lose by 12 and cover.
Yeah, so I think they're going to win.
You think they're going to win the actual football game?
Absolutely.
Kelton is he's such a homer. You don't even know. We set this whole segment up for Kelton to pick against Mizzou, and then I would pick Mizzou, and I'd be the good guy. But I let him go first the first time, and he always just picks Mizzou. I'm going to pick Mizzou to lose the football game, but I think they cover the spread. I think there's some issues at Alabama, some frustrations. You could see some crowd could turn on that team if they're not careful. So I'm gonna take Mizzou not to win the game. I'm not a total homer here, but to cover the spread. Then let's talk F-150 tour, Kelton. You got a second?
Absolutely.
We are going to start the Missouri Times F-150 tour, brought to you by the Missouri Farm Bureau, in Jackson County on Sunday. I think I'm going to go see my buddy Pete Mundo. Monday, I think we'll be in the Great Northland, Nathan Willett territory. Tuesday, we'll be in St. Louis. Wednesday, we're going to kind of make a run down through SEMO, the Lead Belt, back through the Missouri's Rhineland. Thursday, Kelton, we got to be here to tape a show and to go trick-or-treating. And our election special will be on KWOS or KMOS that night. Friday, I'm going to host Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Then I'm going to hop on the Kehoe bus and head down to Neosho. You know, Kelton, that was one for a brief moment in time, the state capitol. And they tore the damn building down. That's been such a shame that they let that building go in Neosho. And that's where we'll probably bring our F-150 tour. We'll probably finish up Saturday somewhere along the route. But I think we're going to do Mark Reardon on Tuesday. I've reached out to my pal Wendy Weiss and McGraw. Mundo, we'll probably do all the shows as we crisscross the state. Should be a heck of a good time. I want to thank everybody. You'll see the graphic up. If you got a race and you got time to come visit with us, hop in the truck. We'll give Kelton more clips to post. I'm sure he's thrilled.
I'm so happy right now.
Paul, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you
How
for
can
having
folks contact you or the Green Party?
The MissouriGreenParty.org /candidates, and they can read my bio there.
I've heard per capita you have the hottest women members of your party. Is that right?
No comment. Per capita. Oh, exactly.
Yes,
I'm sorry.
Per capita.
I didn't understand that.
I have heard that. So
per capita.
If you're really a young man and you're thinking about your political views,
absolutely.
Why not go discover your political orientation with hot women? I mean, that just makes all the sense in the world. Paul, thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
I'm all for that.
We'll see you guys tomorrow with the St. Louis legend Ray Hartman. And Sunday, Kehoe, This Week in Missouri Politics.